everyone. Welcome to another episode of Field Day Fun. I'm your host, Drew Burris, bringing you along for another episode of our adventure going through all kinds of different ways that people are having field days, whether in person, virtual, or going through the hybrid method. Now, today, my special guest is Mr. Brian Devore. Brian, how are you today?
Doing well, Drew. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the invitation.
And I like how you dressed up too, so you're following along with this.
I checked out some of the previous episodes, so I knew that your outfits changed, and you always like to be in the spirit of field day. So I said, "Hey, what the heck? I'll go ahead and join the club."
Right. I say it's getting close to that time of the year. It's getting very busy. So yeah, I just want to kind of show it off a little bit and try to celebrate.
That's right.
All right, Brian. So this is how we do the format here. We play this game called Five Fun Facts, and I'm going to ask you five questions, and you're going to need to do the best that you can to answer them. You think you can do this?
Hey, I can always do the best at anything I do. No problem at all, Drew.
All right. Well, let's start with number 5. Tell us about yourself, what you teach, and where you teach.
All right. So, unlike your previous guests, I'm a retired educator now.
All right.
So, but I did spend 25 years in the classroom at the elementary and middle school level here in Metro Atlanta, Georgia. Worked primarily in Cobb County and Paulding County for teaching. After my years in the classroom, I went into actually virtual education from 2014 to 2017. So our Cobb County School District has Cobb Virtual Academy, which runs high school physical education and health courses for students. It's basically the requirement to graduate from Georgia. So I ran that program for 3 years, and I like to say I was doing virtual PE before everybody thought it was cool and decided to jump on board the last 15 months. And then after that, I was the health and PE coordinator for the Fulton County schools for a couple of years to kind of finish out my career. So I've had the opportunity to see things from a lot of different angles, from the elementary, the middle, and then as well as the high school level, working with the virtual programs, and then, the whole spectrum, including adapted physical education when I was the PE coordinator for Fulton County schools. So it's really given me an interesting perspective on seeing how things work. And I know sometimes, at the local school level, decisions come down and you read the email or you get the message and you kind of shake your head and you're like, what are they thinking? I don't understand this. And even from your own building level principal, sometimes you get decisions and you're like, I don't understand how this happened. But when you start to see some of the bigger picture things, sometimes it sometimes makes a little bit of sense, or at least you can understand where they're coming from, even if you don't necessarily agree with it.
I gotcha. All right. Well, yeah, I'm very appreciative to have you on tonight as a guest. So thank you very much.
No problem. And right now I'm Open's professional development and outreach manager. So I've done that for the last almost 3 years now. So working with our Open national trainers and executive director Aaron Hart, and facilitating professional developments for local school districts, conference presentations, and working with our presenters to do whatever I can to help them, as well as with other teachers facilitating Open.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. All right. So let's go to number 4. So you said you're retired. So our fourth question is usually the teaching platform this year. So let's kind of switch this question up just a little bit. What kinds of things have you seen throughout this wild year we've been in with people teaching different methods and techniques to their students?
So I think the one thing that I've seen, not only this school year, but as last school year ended, I think one of the biggest things is that we've seen a lot more physical educators turn to technology,
right?
And not necessarily because they wanted to, but really because they were forced to. Yeah. So I've seen that as a trend. The other trend that I've seen is that the requirement from either the school district or at the local school level, administrators requiring physical educators to post things in whatever learning management system their district or school utilizes. And I see both of those things as definitely positives in the short term. What happens in the long term is kind of up to us a little bit. And that's going to be, in my opinion, one of the most interesting things to see, because a lot of those folks who maybe didn't use technology and didn't want to think about using technology and were forced to, now that we're getting back and should be back pretty much in mostly face-to-face situations, what are they going to do with that technology? Are they just going to throw it all away and say,
That's a good
oh,
question.
I'm going back to, what I used to do and back to the same old, same old? Or do they say, hey, wait a second, I learned some of these tools and
Right.
the kids kind of gravitated to it. And it might be a neat thing for me to go ahead and integrate into my face-to-face classrooms if it fits and it's good for kids learning. So that's kind of one of the things that I see that's going to be interesting, as well as what comes down over the next couple years with teachers posting in their learning management systems
Hmm.
and requirements for what they have to have in there for plans, what they have to have in there for grades, what their grading procedures are, and so on. So while I see a lot of positives
Yeah.
up to this point. Okay, where do we kind of go from here?
Hmm.
But also, just the resiliency of physical education teachers across the nation, whether it's dealing with teaching with a mask on,
Yeah.
teaching as we talked before we started. In a lot of districts, teachers are teaching face-to-face kids, but then they're also teaching virtual kids at the same exact time with a
Yep.
whiteboard in their classroom.
Yep.
And to be able to manage both groups is a monumental task. With my background in virtual, we would never think about doing something like that. So that and the cleaning procedures for equipment and
Yep.
having to make sure that they're abiding by the spacing rules and whatever else that comes along, and then having those change. It's one thing to have those procedures, but you could have those procedures for 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden,
Yep.
you get a new memo and it's changed, and I got
Yep.
to
Oh
figure
yeah.
out a new way to work it.
Yep.
So teachers have been resilient, they've been flexible, and I think we're going to have to continue to be to a certain degree, but hopefully we'll be able to settle into some routines that will make our jobs a little bit easier moving into next school year.
I know when I first started, I was blessed to kind of do research on how to do some of the technology stuff. And, I integrated it a lot into my curriculum with my students. And then, we all got shut down and I dabbled with a little bit more. And then you see all these teachers who you've probably never heard of come out of left field and start making all this technology. And I think it dawned in my head one day is like, okay, that's great. But how are you going to be in the classroom? It's probably been a different situation where you've been making stuff and your students are, you really love it, but how's it going to be in the classroom? Are you going to use that still in the classroom? Are you, like you said, get rid of it? There's a lot of questions kind of that aren't answered just yet.
Absolutely. So, and let me kind of ask you. So, you utilized technology before all this started. So, did it help you? You think make the transition a little bit easier into that virtual environment
Oh
for a
yes,
short time period?
yes, big time, yeah. Because I probably wasn't the most high techie on making stuff, but I knew how to make this just the simplest things, and it worked out well for my students. When we had this all happen back last spring, I'd send them videos, and they knew exactly what to do. It just kind of like be right in the classroom. So
And that's another technology piece that I think our physical education teachers have gotten better with and felt more comfortable with, is making videos on their own,
yeah,
and understanding, okay, I can make this video and I can post it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be long or super in depth,
right,
but the kids enjoyed, especially last spring, enjoyed seeing their teachers and seeing and
right,
hearing their voices and all. And now that the comfort level has been developed with how to create some of those videos and what to do, it's a great way to flip your classrooms when you're face to
oh yeah,
face, to send out something and make it available on a website or a blog or wherever, or in the LMS posted, hey, watch this video. This is what we're going to talk about tomorrow. This is what we're going to do. Here's a preview.
yeah,
And so, it can save us a lot of time in the classroom, especially when we don't see our kids every day, like is common at the
true.
elementary level.
I think one of my main reasons for kind of starting into technology is, I'm watching all these awesome PE teachers make their own and I'm showing it to my students. And I thought, what if I put myself in there and, the kids, when they see you, the teacher up on the screen, I've said this before in many interviews, they think you're a rock star. They think you are a celebrity. You are on the internet, on YouTube. They want your autograph. It's a wonderful feeling, I can't, it's hard to explain.
Well, it's already, as an elementary PE teacher, you walk in the
Right.
cafeteria, if you're
Yeah.
feeling
Well,
low one day, just walk into the elementary school cafeteria as a PE teacher. You feel like a rock star when you walk out of there.
I get sworn by the preschool students every day. They're like my paparazzi. They'll like wave and try and come hug me and, all that stuff. But yeah, Yeah, it is a great feeling though. When getting recognized by students, I think it's kind of even funnier when they see you outside of the school area, for example, in Walmart, and they think that you actually live in the gym.
Oh yeah.
And it's just funny because the parents will be there and their face is priceless when they hear their child say that. So
But that's another thing that's been good. I mean, from last year, because a lot of these teachers are making videos from their own home,
right,
and it allowed that personal connection between them and their students.
right,
And if they did a Zoom or a Google Meet with their kids, and they got to see, the kids had their cameras on, and you got to see inside the homes. You got to make that personal connection. One PE teacher said the other day, I've met more dogs, more of my students' pets than
right.
than anything else
I might as well
during this time, because they all want to show their dog or their cat or their fish or
yeah,
whatever.
and they could probably implement that, saying, "Yeah, let's share a pet or show your pet day. Like,
Right?
show us
Yeah.
your pets on the scale." Oh yes, yes. Okay, so let's go to number 3. Now, you are part of the open team, so we're going to talk about last year's field day. And I usually ask my guests if there's any success from that. I know there was a huge success. The moment I seen the video, the ads, flyers that popped up on social media, I thought this is pretty cool. And you guys had a very big turnout on this. Can you explain to the viewers how this all came about and how it went down?
Sure. So we actually, after everything happened, we were in a phone call the last week of March, and we were trying to kind of figure out, okay, what can we do to help teachers at this point? Open had already kind of transitioned into creating online
Uh-huh.
virtual lessons for teachers and putting those out on a weekly basis. And then we kind of started looking towards the end of the school year, and it's like, okay, what are teachers going to miss? What are kids going to miss? What's coming up? And we started talking about field day, especially at the elementary level. And you see some at the middle school and high school level,
Right.
but
Yeah.
primarily elementary. And it was a big culminating event. And at that point, pretty much nobody was face to face. Everybody was stuck at home virtually. So, we figured that everybody kind of needed a shot in the arm and a little
Uh-huh.
dose of something that was close to normal. So we came up with the idea, and just kind of brainstormed for a couple of days, trying to figure out, okay, how can we make this work and what can we do, and called in some of our open national trainers to kind of pick their
Yep.
brains as well, so that we could get input from teachers all across the country. And then we said, let's do it. And as you said, as soon as everything kind of was announced and what we were going to do, everything really took off. and
Yeah.
and
Oh,
you know
yeah.
within a period of, gosh, it was close to 40 days, I guess. We put everything together, including selling t-shirts, events, videos on YouTube. We even were able to get some documents in Spanish
Uh-huh.
out to folks. And so a lot of it was a learning process, and there
Yeah.
were a lot of between executive director Aaron Hart, myself, and our open national trainers, a lot of long days and nights trying to put everything together and make it so it was able to work. And thank goodness for the support from US Games and BSN Sports and Varsity
Right.
Brands for helping us with a lot of these different things. And even things as simple as helping us put together the opening ceremonies that
Which
we
was
did last
awesome.
year.
That was
Right.
awesome.
And we had a lot of help from our corporate partners, and Hip Hop Public Health, and
Yep.
and Kevin Atlas and the Believe in You series, and all those different folks. And we've been able to expand this year into getting more partners, national partners like Active Schools and Spike Ball and New York
Yep.
Roadrunners, just to name a few. So, I mean, all those people, had really pitched in and made it so that National Field Day could work. But our trainers, I tell you what, because they were trying to figure out the whole virtual thing as well
Yeah.
back last spring. But, the minute I called them and said, hey, can you do a video on this activity? Here's the event card. Sure, no problem. And within a day, they had it turned around and back to us. Or, hey, we're looking for kids to do the video for the torch relay. Can you do a green screen with your kids, and we'll drop it in? They're like, yeah, just tell me how to make the torch. Okay, here's
Yeah.
the instructions.
And that
And
was
they would
cool
get it
too.
in.
Yeah.
Lynn Heffley, another one of our open national trainers, did a ton of work putting all that torch relay together last year, to get that all in. And not to spoil too much, but, this year we're going to have some similar things. but we're going to have a torch relay that's going to honor teachers from across the country,
Cool.
as well as we're going to have opening ceremonies. But this year, the opening ceremony is going to be much shorter. Last year, everybody was kind of at home. So if it went 40 or
Right.
50 minutes, it was no big deal. This year, it's going to be way shorter, about 10 or 15 minutes. So that way, if teachers are face to face and, kids want to watch it in homeroom while they're getting ready for field day, or the
Hmm.
teachers want to show it one day in preparation, they can do that. So that debuts this Thursday, and then we kick off on Friday. But
Nice.
last year we had roughly 11,000 sites and 4 million students that we impacted.
Yeah.
Right now we're, and we'll add more this year as we get towards the end of the school year, because, a lot of the Northeast schools, they get out a little bit later, but we're
Gotcha.
right at 3 million students right now.
Man.
And, just a ton of sites that have registered for it, including a lot of large districts. New York City DOE, they signed on all of their schools to participate in National Field Day. The Cobb County schools right here in Georgia has done the same. Des Moines, Iowa, their schools have all signed on as a district. So, and several others. But it's nice to see that support from the district level, because that a lot of the teachers within the school district use our resources. But
Hmm.
when it's coming from the district, hey, these are resources that are free and available to you, and
Free. Yep.
it's a wonderful opportunity for you and your students. It makes you feel like you've had a great impact, and that's our number one core value. We help teachers. So
Right.
whatever we're going to do to help teachers, that's what we're going to do. And this has been a situation where we were able to step in and help out.
I know I used, I love the training videos. All of them I watched like several times. I had my students, I put in my own type of field day for them at home, and then I sent off some of the open ones. And yeah, I got a good response from the open lessons that they did. Some of those videos just cracked me up just watching them. I know most of them, and it was just, I was like, this is a great idea. And I remember watching the open ceremony. That was really neat to have too. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it was,
big.
and it's fun for for educators like you, because just like with the students and their teachers, we connect with these people on Twitter
Right.
and Facebook and Instagram. But when you're looking at inside Will Potter's apartment as he's explaining how to do an activity, you're like, oh, that's where Will is.
I was gonna say, I think I see. Let's see. I seen Jason Leach's kitchen. I see like it. Yeah, they're like,
You're right. You're
I
right.
think Tanner's front room too when he
Uh-huh.
was
Yep.
searching for
His
the
living room.
lessons.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was like, this is everybody's house. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was neat to see. I mean, and even for us, because we connect, at different events and that kind of thing. But for the most part, being spread out all across the country, we
Right.
don't see each other's houses very
Oh yeah.
often. So
Yep.
we've seen them some on Zooms that we've done together. But to get that perspective has been interesting and a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna move to our second one. So this year's field day. So I'm lucky enough that I will actually, if weather permits, get a face-to-face field day with students. So we're offering a virtual block. So we're letting, if the students want to, they can come to school and they're going to get their own little session where they're not mixed in with everybody, because having the students who've been in person and then mixing them with the ones who've been at home, we didn't think that was a good idea. So we're offering that to them, and then I'm going to send out the newest stuff from open this year if they're wanting to stay home for field day. So you kind of touched a little bit on the one for this year that open's going to do. Can you share maybe just a little bit of a peek to our viewers of maybe what's going to happen this year?
Sure. So what we did at the end of last year was we did actually send out a survey to folks who registered for National Field Day to gather
Uh-huh.
feedback. So we did get a lot of response to that. And so, as I said before, our core value is we help teachers. So in
Right.
response to that, we did do a couple things new for this year. One thing that we did was all of our resources are going to be available in Spanish. So we were able to, since we were able to kind of start working on a little bit earlier than 40 days out, we were able to get resources together, get them to a translator. We don't have one on
Hmm.
staff. So we were able to get all those translated to Spanish, which I know we get requests all the time for all different languages, but it would be impossible to do
Right.
everything. But Spanish is one of the main ones that people request. So we were able to do that. So all the events are on there. We also got a huge request for having things available on the Google platform.
Okay.
Last year, we primarily did PDF and PowerPoint.
Right.
So this year, we still are utilizing PowerPoint, but we're also going to integrate Google Slides. So everything's available in Google Slides. So that way, between those two platforms, pretty much everybody should be able to access and be able to download and change if they want to. You know, as you said, you kind of got a different situation, and everybody really does. So if you need to change anything, you can change those things around. The other thing that we had was we wanted to be more inclusive for our adapted physical education students this year. So we put together a team of nationally recognized adapted physical education teachers.
Cool.
This was led by Tracy Charlo, one of our own national trainers. But that team went through the events from last year, and they took those events and created more inclusive language in those events, as well as universal design for learning adaptations. So some suggestions to teachers who maybe had a student in a wheelchair, or maybe had a student who was blind, and what can I do to adapt these events for these students to help them out?
A great idea.
So, I mean, that was something that, really became somewhat of a passion project for us to make sure that we did that, because not only are adapted physical education teachers, we feel somewhat underserved, but, we realized that last year we did kind of neglect them. And with the surveys coming in, we wanted to make sure that we served not only that population of adapted PE teachers and the regular PE teachers who have those students pushed into their regular classes, but also serve those adapted physical education students and even parents, because a lot of those students, sometimes they're still fall into that medically fragile umbrella where it may not be best for them to be around a bunch of other students. So a lot of them may still be at home. So is where parents would still be able to utilize things around the home and help their children be successful and create a positive, fun atmosphere would be great for them. We also go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We also partnered with a group called Kinzu. Kinzu actually is the maker of one of an app that is used by parents and children as a communication tool. That's kind of a secure, service that basically is not, just kind of out there like messaging or Facebook Messenger, anything like that. And so Kinzu's created actually an app that we're releasing this week for students that they can go ahead and do their scorekeeping for the events on the app instead of, an old school paper pencil. So, if teachers want to collect things through the app, they can, get them uploaded through their LMS through the app, and then students can get awarded their certificates based on how many events that they do. Plus, we've got a ton more events this year. We've got, I think it's over 50 events that we have this year, whereas last year we were right at about 20. So people can pick and choose what they want. They don't have to do everything. If they want to pick 10 of their favorites or 20 of their favorites, they can. If they want to have their kids do all of them, they can do it that way too.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like
that's kind of the highlights.
I was going to say, it sounds like, and I've seen from social media, it's already starting to light up a lot. That people are already starting to register for this. Do you know how many of you guys have got registered so far?
Yeah, so we're probably, I think the last number I heard was over 5,000, close to 6,000 sites that are registered. So, I mean, we're definitely, moving towards where we were last year. I think last year was one of those things where, like I said earlier with the opening ceremonies, everybody was tied down. They were locked into to being at home. So, last year was kind of one of those years where it was like, it was the right fit at the right time. And it still is the right fit at the right time for this year. But I think, it would be foolhardy to think that you were going to touch the numbers from last year in a lot of different areas. But, obviously with thousands of sites and millions of kids that we're going to impact this year, there's still definitely a need there for teachers, and it's still going to be a great highlight for everyone.
So a question I have for you is, let's say, whenever this pandemic goes away and we start to get back to normal, is Open going to continue with this idea?
So as of right now, yes. I mean,
it's a good idea.
Have, we don't have any reason not to.
Right
right now. I know, in what I call our old school modules, our
Oh,
pre-COVID
yep.
modules. We
I know
actually
those.
had a field day module in there. So, it was something that we knew teachers needed assistance with and needed help with sometimes. So I think that, the more resources we can put out there, the
Oh,
better.
yes.
And so I think, a lot of teachers have found that, hey, these resources are out there and they're free. And I know from, just from my teaching experience, Drew, and you can chime in too. I mean, gosh, we spend a ton of time planning for field day every year. And it's
Oh,
like, okay,
boy.
I put a lot of time in planning
Oh,
for
you
one
have no
school
idea.
day.
Oh,
And so,
mind
so
like a
anything,
year and a
anything that we can give to teachers that maybe lightens the load a
yeah.
little bit, I think would be appreciated.
I don't know. I keep telling myself I'm getting too old for this. I mean, I'm only in my 10th year, but every year, not counting last year because I just had to look outside and say, I'm done. I'm usually outside, for the afternoon before until probably an hour or two after the event's over. And I'm just so dog tired. And I'm just like, I'm doing this for the students. And that's always running in my mind at 2 a.m. if I'm walking through slop of mud and it's raining on me, no matter what. It's always in my head, this is not for me. This is for the students. And this year it's also for the teachers because, for me, my school, just getting to the finish line for this year, we're just ready, and I think this is kind of like it's like a party. We're going to celebrate having a full year and we're gonna have fun, man.
Yeah, and it has been. I mean, for everyone, all teachers, not just physical education teachers, but for all teachers, it's
Yeah.
been obviously a rough year. Just like last year, towards the end of the year, it was rough making a change
Oh,
on a dime,
yeah.
into how you teach kids, and then the uncertainty of, okay, what's even going to happen the end of this year or into next school year.
Right.
And I think, like you mentioned earlier, I think, hopefully we've kind of turned the corner a little bit, and we feel like that, things will be closer to normal at the beginning of next school year, than they were this school year, and we'll be able to have somewhat of a quote unquote normal year.
Right.
But it's a celebration, and that's what we wanted. That's what we wanted, to do last year.
Hmm.
And we do everything that we do with Open has a social and emotional learning component to it.
Yep.
And that was one thing that, that we felt like from a social and emotional component last year. It was what kids needed. It was what teachers needed. It was what school communities needed. And heck, it was even what parents needed.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know?
Your guys' recap video, people that sent in stuff, that was a very good tribute of everything that was just compiled all into one. That was
Right. Yeah. And so many families together, even if it was the parent was just keeping score, it was
right.
the family together, competing and going through the different events and trying the different things. And even the
Yeah.
moms and dads and little brothers, little sisters out there
Right.
doing the best they could, so it made it so it was a fun day for them. And even if they got a chance to put the pandemic on a back burner for a day and just kind of get outside and play some. And the other thing too that you saw was it was folks from all walks of life.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the other thing that was fun and it made us feel good was that we created resources that created equity of access for everyone. It didn't matter what kind of house you lived in, what kind of
Yep.
car you drove, what kind of yard you had. You were able to use these resources and you were able to have a good day.
Right. Yeah. Well, just watching my virtual students send me videos in, I'm seeing mom, I'm seeing dad, probably who just got home from work from what it looks like, grandma, grandpa, cousins, just watching everybody just, interact with each other. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, for
Even
sure.
the pets are in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, let's go to our last one, Brian. Now, I know being retired, you're going to have to probably, there's been a lot of these, but I need you to kind of think whether you made it or you participated in it. What was your favorite field day activity
Okay.
ever?
Um, so my favorite field day activity, I would have to say, is something that we called, I think we called it the leaky pipe race.
Okay.
So, and this was something I saw, I mean, and I created this back about, gosh, 10 years or so ago.
Yes.
And I actually ended up making these. I think may have seen it on Twitter back in the day and figured out how to make it. So, and it took some experimentation. So, I got some of the big 4-inch PVC pipe. and put a cap on one end,
Nice.
and then drilled holes at various spots throughout that 4-inch PVC pipe. And I made it so it was probably, gosh, it was close to 5-6 feet tall.
Cool.
And so what the object was the students, they were in groups, and one student would go down with a bucket, and they would scoop up water out of the pool. They'd come back and they'd pour it into the top of the PVC pipe. Well, the rest of their teammates, they're trying to cover the holes up to keep it from all leaking out as it's coming in. And then they got to run and, refill the bucket and come back. And the object was to get your pipe all the way filled up to the top.
Nice.
So, but it was a lot of fun, just because,
cool.
you'd see the kids are pouring the bucket, and some of them are going really slow so they don't spill a drop. And then others are just, turning it all over. And of course, the kids love the water events.
Right.
So, they're getting soaking wet. And, kids, I saw sometimes, kids would have one hand here. They'd have a foot up over, trying to cover another hole. So
nice.
It was just a lot of fun and really quick and easy, but it was fun to create too. And then to see the kids have so much fun with it was the other part. That, like you talked about, all the preparation part, and you're thinking about doing it for the kids, and getting the exact right amount of holes in the pipe, so that thinking about, okay, how many hands are they going to have, and where should I put them at, and all that good stuff. But that was fun, because it was something that I had seen and had to kind of create, and then and then work with, and then see the kids have so much fun with it. That was good.
So with my previous guests, I've had to dig into the archives to kind of show them something that's happened from the past. So I'm going to show you this, and maybe you can explain what's going on.
Okay.
So I found this on your Twitter, and I believe the tagline was the best moment ever in field day.
Yeah. Could it be the best and the worst too, Drew, all at the same time?
So maybe you can elaborate a little bit on what's going on. It looks like slime.
Yes, it is. So that's myself on the right-hand side of the screen, and my teaching partner, Nancy Janis, on the left at Mountain View Elementary School. So that was back in the days of Jump Rope for Heart. So we would always set our goals for our students for Jump Rope for Heart. So that year the students reached their goal, and the top fundraiser for each grade level got to dump a bucket of slime over the top of our heads for the final part. And we did it at the end of field day. So all the kids came outside onto the playground area and kind of gathered around the blacktop there. And then each kid got their chance to go ahead and dump their bucket of slime on top of us. So slime is made of applesauce and green food coloring.
Yeah.
And it was sickeningly sweet at the end.
And,
it was, definitely the goggles on the eyes were a big plus for sure. But it took probably about 2 or 3 times washing my hair before I got it out. But and I didn't have very much, so I'm sure it took Nancy much longer. But Nancy, that was the Mountain View was the last school I taught at. So and Nancy's retiring actually this year. So, but I still tease her about that and how much fun we had with it and with field day. So it was a lot of fun. Great memory to have with with all the kids at the school there.
I know we did a Nickelodeon themed field day a couple years back, and after that was all done, I said, not again. I'm not doing slime ever again. Making it seemed like it took days, and we probably only had barely 2 buckets made. And then, like you said, washing it out, I mean, it took forever.
Right. Well, even just, because you didn't want to leave it sitting on the blacktop over the weekend in that hot Georgia sun. So, you're out there with a hose trying to wash it all down some, so it's not all gross when you come back.
I was like, I'm glad the kids are having fun with this, but this is probably not again. Well, Brian, I appreciate you being on here tonight with me. Can you give our viewers some contact info in case they have some questions for maybe this year's open field day that's going to happen?
Sure. You can always reach out to me through my email. It's bdevore, just like my last name, DEVORE @openphysed.org. And then if you want to follow me on Twitter, at bdevore7. And then you can follow all the open handles. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at OpenPhysEd. So any of those channels you can follow us at and get to the National Field Day information. And happy to answer any questions anybody has, or any suggestions as well, as we
Gotcha.
kind of conclude this year and head into next year. We want to obviously make it better and create tools that teachers need.
I say, yeah, I know there's probably a lot of people already ready to go just with everything that you guys have. So yeah, this is going to be another helpful thing for teachers who are kind of still trying to figure out what they're going to do for field day.
Right. Absolutely.
Oh
Nope.
yeah.
And we'll keep going until they tell us to stop.
Oh yes, that's a great idea. Well, sad to say, I've been doing this for the past couple of weeks with new guests, and this is going to be our last episode. So hopefully, from all the episodes that we have done, you have kind of gained some knowledge on maybe what you could do for in person, or what you could do for hybrid, or virtually. Open is a great idea that just it took off last year. It should have another great year. But as I've told you at the end of every episode, no matter the style this year, just make sure that you have fun. I appreciate everybody that's been a guest on here. Brian, thank you for coming out once again. Had a blast hearing all these ideas from everybody. It's been awesome. So I hope you have a great field day for this year, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Drew. Bye-bye, everyone.